I am explicitly lifting up other creators. I don't want to push them down, and I don't want to support people who are pushing other creators down. So, speaking of pushing someone down, this guy had a bad take. No, I'm just kidding. So last week we watched Scorpius's video, which was so well made, in which he said that PoE2's has a quitting players problem, essentially saying that it has a retention problem, and he gave a whole bunch of solutions as to how to fix the retention problem. Now, I did not agree with the solutions. They were essentially kind of like MMO-ish elements, adding kind of like holiday events into the game, boosting other league mechanics during certain points, dropping like new mechanics during the league itself, like saving updates from the big launch to a month after launch. Didn't agree with that. He actually responded, and he was very kind to the react and everything. And I think we're going to have a podcast in 0.5. We'll chat about it a little bit more. He actually had a really good argument as to why it should be added. Like, oh, PoE2 is meant to be a different game. It's not meant to be a classic ARPG, which, ooh, that's appealing to what I was just talking about, wasn't it, you guys? Anyway, he also got a lot of critique in the comments because people were like, this isn't a big problem. You know what the actual big problems are? Here are 5 of them. So he made a response video, and he's outlining the 5 biggest problems in PoE2. Now, I think we're gonna do a little bit of a reaction to it and see if we agree. 5 biggest problems with PoE2. If we were to name our 5 biggest problems, let's have some fun. Let's see if our list matches. Okay? Okay, client.text. Oh, that's secret. You can't see that. You can't see that. Okay. All right. Our 5 biggest problems. Okay, sorry, not ours. Chat, I'm sorry. I'm not going to take your advice. I'm going to put mine down. I'm not going to read chat. Let's see if you guys agree with me. 5 biggest problems in PoE2. Wow, that's tiny. All right, here we go. My number 1 biggest problem, optimization, performance, crashing. That's my number 1. My number 2 biggest problem, visual clarity. I guess we can, we're not going to even talk about the OG vision, okay? Because that's not fair. That's not fair. I'm not going to, just going to say visual clarity. And this is starting, I'd say, in interludes about. I think in interludes, that's when visual clarity starts to get bad. Oh, I really want to look at chat, but I'm not going to look at chat. I think the 3rd biggest problem is too swingy due to most power being in gear and not in passive tree / ascendancies. Ascendancies. Okay. Number 4, I would say the end game progression, end game as a whole with Infinite Atlas. I'm just not a fan of the Infinite Atlas right now. I think it is messy. I think it's clunky. I think it's an illusion of choice, essentially. And the 5th biggest problem in all of PoE2. Let's see, guys. Oh, what makes the list for me? I'm really racking my brains here. I have 2 brains. That's right. I actually have 2 brains, you guys. Yeah, brains plural. What could it be? What could it be? I'm really trying to narrow things. Here we go. You guys ready for this? A lot of you are gonna disagree with me. But I think this is it. I'm writing it down. Let's see if anybody said anything. All right. No, I'm not gonna put my rating from the vision because I don't even want to touch the vision. Lack of player feedback upon doing something wrong. I'm gonna put it in parentheses. Okay. So dying. Original temple UI and the like. Okay. So I think the biggest thing here is like not having a death recap in the game. It's very hard for a player to improve their character, I'd say, without going online and using resources a lot of the time, especially once you're in endgame. More information needs to be in the game, and you need to get that feedback in the game, and the game needs to explain things to you better. So lack of, how about this? Explanation in game. There you go. I think that's better. I think that's better. Boom. That's my top 5. Let's see, guys. Players is the biggest problem in PoE 2. What? Monster pushiness, 2 brain cells. Ha ha ha, nice. I mean, all men have 2 brains. Nice one, nice one. Migrating from the vision. No, I don't want to put that in. You don't think build variety is top 5? I don't think build variety is ever really going to be solved, brother. I think that mob density is visual clarity. I don't think build variety will ever really be solved, dude. Build variety in a game like Path of Exile 2, where everybody is going to bubble to the best set of builds, is tough, and it's especially tough right now because there is not all the classes, not all the weapons in the game. So maybe we can analyze that a little bit better once PoE 2 is fully released. But that's my top 5 list. That's my top 5 list. All right. Scorpius, the biggest 5 problems PoE 2 players are facing. Let's hear it, brother.
A lot of you actually watched my previous video about players quitting the game and overall retention in PoE 2. Yep. That video ended up getting over 1,000 comments, and honestly, there were some really strong points raised. A lot of you shared your personal...
Wait. What was that? No rest for the wicked is what I thought PoE 2 would be. Now, I never thought that. I've been accused of that, but I never thought that. But I can see how some people might think that.
And honestly, there were some really strong points raised. A lot of you shared your personal reasons for quitting the game or burning out. Some of you added angles I hadn't even considered, and some of you gave some pretty amazing solutions. And yeah, some of you were just negative and toxic, either to me, the video, or other people, without actually adding any value at all, which is also part of it, so well done, you got some attention too. I read every single...
don't engage with them, bro. I've committed this sin so many times. I know that it's good for engagement, but unless you're doing this full time and I guess he's pumping out content from the toxicity, but if you're not doing this full time, I would not engage with the toxicity. I wouldn't. Let's see. Nobody playing dead game. It's not MMORPG.
Any value at all, which is also part of it. So okay, well done. You got some attention too. I read every single comment, the short ones, the long essays, the ones agreeing, the ones completely disagreeing. And after going through everything, I put together the 5 most common problems you guys brought up. So let's start with the people who disagree.
Okay, I'm sorry, Scorpius. I did this last video too. Guys, look at the gameplay.
Problems you guys brought up.
So look at the performance. Look at,
there weren't a lot
of that Scorpius has a good computer too. Okay, so top 5, how did he sort this? Did he like use some sort of sorting algorithm? I want to see how he sorted this.
But almost everyone who disagreed did so for the same reason. You said things like, retention doesn't matter. ARPGs are seasonal. You're supposed to quit after a month. This is how these games have always worked. And I completely understand that perspective. That's how ARPGs have functioned for years.
Okay, he's talking to me. He's talking to me right now. Now, I would say that they've functioned since about 2018, 2019 like this because GGG perfected it. Beforehand, ARPGs, I don't think were seasonal, and they didn't really like embody this sort of return to play thing until PoE mastered it because they wanted to monetize everything with supporter packs and people returning every 4 months, 3 months.
Diablo, and so many others. You go hard for a few weeks, you finish your goals, and then you move on. Next league, next reset, next grind. There's nothing wrong with that. Diversifying your games is actually pretty healthy. And yes, true. GG has even said that in the past.
Okay, so a little behind the scenes. I told him to watch this video when he linked it to me, and I'm glad he watched it. And he's including it in this video. Amazing video.
Wilson, for example, mentioned this back in 2019, that retention inside a league isn't their primary concern. The revenue spikes at league launch. True. That's when supporter packs actually sell. That's when...
True. He's totally right. D2 had a ladder. D2 had a season for decades. Okay. You're right. All right. Okay.
When the hype happens. So from a pure business perspective and standpoint, I completely understand that model. But here's where I slightly disagree. I don't think the majority of PoE 2 players are traditional ARPG veterans anymore. PoE 2 brought a massive wave of players from other genres, especially MMOs. And those players don't approach the game the same way that you are. They're not programmed to zoom as fast as possible, grind like there's a deadline, burn through everything in 3 weeks. They're used to long-term progression.
All right. He's speaking directly to me with what just happened with PoE 1. But long-term progression and I mean, unless GGG wants to lean into that, but the long-term progression and the seasonal mechanic or the seasonal model doesn't really work, because in an MMO you're playing your same character over and over, and they keep raising the power level, and you got to grind new stuff. Or if you're playing Guild Wars 2, grind new cosmetics. But literally the entire game design for PoE 2 and PoE 1, what we see is it's designed with that in mind. Like, they'd have to fundamentally change their entire way of developing and designing the game, in my view, to address what he's really thinking about, you know? And I do think that these games can engage you for the whole season, especially if you don't play, 12 hours on launch day, another 12 hours on launch weekend, and then 2 hours a day every day after that for 2 weeks, right? If you're only playing an hour one day, 2 hours a week and a half later, stuff like, you're going to play the whole season. There's more than enough content. I think just a lot of the ARPG vets are conditioned like that, but also the game is designed with that in mind. You guys agree? You guys agree? It's almost as if I made a similar point earlier, how this game brought in many new players that wouldn't have ever tried it otherwise. Cough, cough. Yeah, it brought so many new players. I had so many of my friends who refused to play PoE 1 try Path of Exile 2, and many of them love it. They absolutely love it. Like, they are in. They're in for the zoom. They are. But also, if players are constantly playing this game and they keep resetting their characters, I feel like that'll burn players out. That's just my opinion. Let's see what Scorpius says here. Let's see if he continues elaborating on this. We're not getting into the problems. He's kind of responding to the last video. I did not think he was going to respond as much to the last video as he is. Let's see what else he dives into.
Going systems, updates layered over time. And yes, GG might not prioritize retention inside a single game when they have both PoE 1 and PoE 2. Their ideal cycle seems to be 2 months of PoE 2, 2 months of PoE 1. If done perfectly, you never have time to look at Diablo, Last Epoch, or anything else. And honestly, that's pretty smart. If you're someone who plays both games and cycles through their leagues, you're effectively retained throughout the whole year. You're buying supporter packs every couple of months. From a monetization perspective, that's incredibly efficient. And to be honest, from GG's perspective, that's definitely caring about retention. But what about the players who don't care about PoE 1? Why shouldn't they have something meaningful happening in PoE 2 every 2 months? Why not?
Okay, but I'm going to go back to what I said in my prior react. I think that this is I'm sorry, Scorp bro. I think this is a fake problem. I don't think this problem exists. I don't. Because if you stop having fun in a game due to the way the game is developed, due to the way that the developers have, mastered this development, hey, let's not look at the past year and a half though, but the way that they developed the game, then stop, don't play and then come back. I just feel like it's I don't know what the issue is with like people dropping off and not being constantly engaged. It feels a lot like there's another great video from Chris Wilson. I think it's called Dark Patterns in Games. This reminds me so much of that. And this is why I stopped playing Guild Wars 2 and other MMOs, because it was like, I know he's not exactly saying this, but there were dailies in Guild Wars 2 and monthlies. And I for a long time, I felt pressured to log in and do the dailies or work toward the monthly, or that I was like missing out on progress and I was missing out on this. And I realized I wasn't having fun. I was doing it because I felt compelled to, because it was my favorite game and the developers were putting this system in the game that if I engaged with, I got rewarded, and the whole side. It's kind of like with mobile games where you have like the daily sign. My wife plays some mobile games where you have like the daily sign in. And you get a bonus if you sign in every day, and you get a streak if you continue signing in day after day. Once again, I know I'm not being exactly like fair to because Scorpius is not saying this exactly, but that's the feeling it's evoking in me. It's saying we want players to have a reason to log in midway through a league, not like we just want to keep them in the game, as opposed to, okay, we release a giga patch every 4 months. Everybody comes in, plays together. and people fall off because they stop having fun with the Giga Patch. They move on to new things. That's fine. Some people continue playing because they really like the game. They're in love with the game. And to get those players back who left to go play other games because they weren't satisfied with the content that we added 2 months ago, we're going to do another mid-season content drop to pull players back. I don't know. I get what he's saying. I get what he wants. I just don't agree with it. That's it.
Give them mid-league updates. Why not attach MTX drops or supporter packs to those updates? Why not try to retain the players who might otherwise leave for games like World
What did he just say? No, what did he just say? 1 second. I need to go back.
Players who don't care about PoE 1. Why shouldn't they have something meaningful happening in PoE 2 every 2 months? Why not give them mid-league updates? Why not attach MTX drops or supporter packs to those updates? Why not try to retain...
Brother, now you're just asking GGG to do 2 month updates to PoE 2. No, guy. Oh, no, let them cook. No. You know how hard it is already for grinding your games to put out a well-polished update every 4 months for PoE 2? Now add a mid-season update in between that isn't a full update, but a partial update that then they're going to attach. No. So hard. They all... Ready for some glazing? Here's some talkative tri-glazing. I have worked for a company in the past that struggled to put out updates to a website every 6 months. And there were massive bugs with it. And it failed. And customers ran into issues. And we had massive downtime. Every 6 months, mind you. Okay? GGG have a whole content pipeline. They have press events. They have all this coding, all these interacting systems, and they get updates out every 4 months for PoE 2. Yes, there are issues. Yes, there are bugs. But what they do is, I almost dropped it, is honestly unbelievable. It is. Every single time I may be friends with a couple GGG devs on LinkedIn. All the game devs are like, we don't know how you do this. Like, praise. This is crazy that you guys put out all this content and it's such high quality. Everybody always makes the joke of literally as much content as a Diablo 4 sold expansion in a PoE 2 league or a PoE 1 league. And you know what? It's kind of true. I do not like, now that he said it like that, now I'm firmly anti. I am anti, okay? No. Nope. Okay, let's continue.
The players who might otherwise leave for games like World of Warcraft or something completely different. If someone cycles both games, they'll still finish PoE 2 content before jumping to PoE 1. If someone only plays PoE 2, they simply stay engaged longer. For me, that sounds like a win-win situation. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that one in the comments down below. Now,
lose situation. I'm getting him on the podcast. Scorpius coming on the podcast. We're going to talk about this, and we're not going to yell at each other. We're going to be very respectful. I hope that I'm being respectful with my reacts because I appreciate the way he structures his content. I think it's great. I love that he's making videos that aren't just build guides or currency guides, that he's giving commentary on the game and talking with the community. I really like that. Let's go. Okay, I think we're getting into the 5 biggest problems that PoE 2 is facing.
Before we get into the top 5, there were a lot of smaller feedback points sprinkled in the comments. Things like build diversity, not enough classes, death recap, of course.
Yay! Hey, that was number 5 for me, brother. Also, smaller? Holy crap, are these problems going to be giga or what? Did I miss some stuff?
Multiplayer issues, and a bunch of other pointers. But the most frequent, small, but consistent complaint, and easily what I would rank number 6, overall, was all about the XP penalty on death. Firstly, I gotta say, the XP penalty in PoE 2 isn't unique to this game. Dying with a penalty has long been part of ARPG design to keep progression from feeling trivial. The way I see their philosophy is that death should have consequences. If you could die with 0 cost, players would treat death as nothing. Then risk and challenge disappears. If XP always just flows forward and death didn't affect it, then everyone one just brute forces everything with no meaningful tension. It's meant to preserve tension and reward good play. From a high-level game design perspective, the penalty exists because level 100 is supposed to be harder than just grinding maps. Death is intended to be meaningful, and progression should feel like an accomplishment. Even though I understand the frustration, especially if you are playing casually, the intent isn't to gatekeep or punish for punishment's sake. The intent is to preserve tension, encourage build optimization, and make progression feel earned instead of automatic. Maybe
Yeah, I think elitist take, I'm sorry, but I don't think XP on death is the issue. I think XP on death is good, okay? It doesn't happen in pinnacle bosses. You can get omens of amelioration to almost trivialize it. I think that there are other problems that happen on death. I'm surprised that maybe they'll be mentioned later, but just the fact that suppose you die on a boss fight, your entire map goes empty, that kind of sucks. If you die on a map and you only have the one, no portals remaining, you can't use any tablets on it, and it's basically a blank waystone. The fact that you only get one portal, here, I think you should get 2 portals because, you know, shit happens. So I think there are a lot of other punishments on death. The one that I think should stay is XP loss because of basically what he said. It creates the tension. It creates, you know, it incentivizes you to build your character well so you survive. And if you want to push to those, honestly, past level 95, you got to have a good build. I like that. I like that. So yeah. So hopefully they don't remember. Nope, I won't say that.
Solution would be to increase the minimum level when XP penalty starts. Instead of, let's say, at 70 or 80, they could change it to 90, and that way the majority of the...
No, well, this is missing the problem. The problem is not level 90. The problem is like level 94, 95, maybe it starts at like level 93. That's when this actually becomes kind of like a real tension. Before that, okay, let me know in the comments, am I cooked? Am I cooked? I think this is only a problem when you're like mid-90s. I don't think the progression from 70 to 90 is an issue at all. It's very little XP. So just maybe I'm blasting a little bit, but I don't think it's much of an issue. You can recover stuff very easily.
Casuals might not even experience it, or they could change the 10% hit to 5% hit and keep the level a little bit lower. Let me know what you guys think about this one as well. Now, moving on to our top 5. Number 5 isn't philosophical at all, it's actually technical. A lot of you brought up performance issues as your reason to quit the game. Although this is early access, bugs and instability are expected to some degree. Even though there is definitely still room for improvement, they have shown major progress recently with FPS drops, pausing the game when you get a crash so you don't lose the progress, fixed bugs, and much more. But I definitely agree that there are some bugs, server issues, and quality of life changes that they definitely need to work on to improve performance. Moving on to number 4.
Okay, crashing is the entire performance. It's really bad, guys. I'm sorry, but here we go. Somebody say I'm getting my Exile con ticket revoked. I hope not. I hope not, guys. I've always been like this. Performance is abysmal. It's abysmal. My computer roars when I play PoE 2. It doesn't roar when I play No Rest of the Wicked, Last Epoch, or even PoE 1. It roars when I play PoE 2. And the crashing, the grinding gears, guys. Oh, it is genius. He did mention it's so you don't lose your progress, but still, the game has become less stable from 0.1 to 0.4. And here's the other thing, guys. I don't think there's going to be major performance changes in 0.5. Because usually when they make substantial changes to the engine to performance, that comes out quite a bit before the patch, maybe even right around now. Like they did this in PoE 1 for a long time. I think they did it in PoE 2 when the renderer changed. I don't think it's coming in 0.5. So we're going to continue to experience this. And then we, of course, have the elephant of the room, which are the server instabilities, which are DDoS attacks, which PoE and PoE 2 experienced the craziest DDoS attacks I've ever seen. Very unfortunate on their part. So, thank you guys all for the kind words. You guys are very kind. Thank you. Okay. All right, let's move on. Oh my gosh. What? Number 4 is crafting. Number 4 is crafting. All right, let me hear what he says here. I might disagree. Let's see.
Was crafting. And this one was pretty loud. A lot of you...
Wait. No, that's not true. Try performance improvements were a big part of the 0.4 live stream announcement. A-tab. FPS improvements. FPS improvements. The game is far less stable. I didn't mention that FPS was worse. The frame rate is better. A lot of it, I think, also has to do with the lesser density, even though I didn't notice it that much. But I'm mostly talking about the stability. So A-tab, FPS did get better, but everything else is less stable. Okay, back to crafting. Here we go.
Moving on to number 4 was crafting. And this one was pretty loud. A lot of you said crafting doesn't feel like crafting. It feels like gambling. Like throwing currency into a slot machine and hoping something sticks. I'm gonna assume that the majority of players who said that specific thing are now catching up with what crafting is in this game, because that's what crafting has been since point 1 and point 2. The only time it was different was when we had homogenizing orb,
0.3.
and to be completely honest, Abyss crafting is still insanely good. However, in the comments there were 2 core complaints around crafting. A, half of you said it's too hard, and B,
It's too hard. It's non-existent. Okay, wait. I'll wait to respond.
half of you said that it's not empowering or non-existent, which is a perfect example of the community splitting into different player categories. For anyone who finds crafting too hard, I would definitely suggest either watching video guides that explain it in detail or try playing SSF. So yeah, crafting is definitely complicated, especially if you don't have much experience with it or you didn't even put any effort to learn more about it. And trying to keep up with the gear that you need for the campaign or endgame or economy while not knowing anything about it is definitely worse. Now, regarding everything else about crafting, I do agree that we still don't have the full picture of what crafting should look like in PoE 2, and we have a lot of room for improvements. However, it will never be fully deterministic. The homogeneous...
Okay, I don't think he's going to go into it, so I'm going to quickly give my take. I think one of the big problems with crafting in PoE 2 is that so many people refuse to engage with it because it's more profitable to just sell the crafting materials if you get them. You look at the bones, you look at the good omens, always better to sell, because to actually craft and, you know, I won't say deterministically, but have a really good chance of getting a good item, you need a lot of these materials. Like, and people who think I don't know how to play PoE 2 are probably like, oh, you know, okay, so maybe he knows a little bit. But you need a crap ton of this stuff. And everybody's just, they're going to see, oh, I got an Omen of Light. Oh, this means that I can go in and I can get the good abyssal craft. I can remove that. I can remove that modifier that I didn't like, and I can go for another hit of the dopamine and try to get the good abyssal mod. And then you go to the currency exchange and you see that it sells for, when I got it, it was like 23 divines. And your net worth is 2 divines. And you're like, I guess I could just like maybe sell it. And then I could press backslash and just like buy an entire new set of gear instead of engaging with the crafting system. Right. So that is a tough balance, because you got access to trade. A lot of people aren't going to play SSF, and you know, unless they want to pour a lot more time into the game, they're not going to engage with SSF. They're just going to sell stuff. They're just going to sell the crafting materials that they get. So that's the tough thing. Now, my brother, for example, he brings up the point, just make them more common. Just make the crafting materials more common. For example, Omen of Whittling, right? Just make that more common. Now, GGG have already made that, what is it? Like 3x more common, and it's still giga rare. What is that going to do? I'm not an economist. I don't exactly know. But I do know I think that's the core of the problem. People don't know how to craft or think crafting is non-existent because they just sell the materials instead of engaging with the system, because it's way easier. Crafting is actually pretty simple in PoE 2. I'm not going to lie. Way simpler than in PoE 1. I think a lot of it, the only thing that I wish was in game was like a better way to see what crafted modifiers you could get as an outcome. For example, the Abyssal Lich modifiers. That'd be cool. I'd love that in game GGG, like an encyclopedia, like No Rest for the Wicked have. Would love that. But I don't think it's that complicated beyond that. So it just requires a lot of currency. It's gambling, and a lot of people don't want to engage with it because you're better off just selling it. So Okay. Let's see. Maybe he'll go into that, but it didn't sound like he was going to address that point.
Orb was great fun for sure, but it harmed the economy as everyone could just get themselves the best gear they could, so nothing was really selling in the market. And B, it makes dropped loot completely pointless. But having said that, crafting is still too random and far from perfect, but if you know enough about crafting, you can definitely go through the entire game in SSF without any issues or without the need of trading with others. Now, if the problem is keeping up.
Okay, somebody just said that built not bought 69. I do agree with you. The problem is we need middle ground crafting. 95% of players can't engage with the current system because it's geared toward mirror crafting, and like all the prices kind of like balloon up toward that. I added that, not you, built not bought, but I think that's kind of what you're saying. Yes, I agree. I agree.
With the economy, then that's a completely different issue. And that specific issue is the third most frequent complaint that you guys had. The economy. Inflation, temple farming.
Fubgun mentioned.
Divine values, overpriced omens, RMTing, crafting being too expensive, feeling forced into trade. But what stood out to me wasn't just inflation. It was how many of you said progression feels tied to the market instead of the gameplay. Now,
yeah, I think that's kind of based. I think I agree with that.
Here's the uncomfortable truth, guys. ARPG economies naturally inflate. Even if GG.
Yeah, but that doesn't need to be every ARPG. No, I'm just kidding.
Banned every single RM tier tomorrow, guess what? Inflation would still exist. Even if they removed every exploit in the game, which I don't know if they're going to be able to.
Okay, is RMT an actual issue? I see a lot of people say RMT is an issue. I don't believe it.
Do that in the future, inflation would still exist because min-maxers will always find the most efficient farming strategies and dominate the market. That's just how competitive economies work. Could they improve the drop rates? Maybe. Could they adjust omen availability or crafting accessibility? Possibly, yeah. But if better gear drops more often, crafting loses value. If crafting becomes stronger, the market shifts around it. If everything becomes easier to obtain, something else becomes scarce. There's no perfect solution. And realistically, the economy will probably always be one of the top complaints in a game like this. The only real way to completely avoid any drama or anything to do with it is simply playing SSF. And
the go play SSF. Dang. RMT is crazy. I get RMT ads on almost every PoE2 video. That's crazy. I was going to say, I've never seen RMT ads, but I have YouTube Premium. For YouTube guys, it's because I make YouTube videos. That's why I have YouTube Premium.
Players who actually try SSF never look back. Number 2 is campaign.
Some people look back because it requires a lot more time in. I think it requires just a lot more time in, and it's a lot more luck-based SSF. It's never going to happen. Ever. But if grinding your games added an SSF mode where you could not transfer from solo self-found to trade with something similar to Last Epoch's Circle of Fortune, where you could kind of cater your drops. You could progress some sort of skill tree to cater the drops you got in the world and target farm certain things. I don't think I would look back. But the way that it's currently designed, I just feel like SSF for a lot of people probably requires too high a time investment given the sheer randomness and PoE of drops and the like. In trade, just it makes it a lot easier, and it makes the game more fun in a lot of ways too. For all the problems we talk about trade having, I do think currently it makes the game more fun. And yeah, by the way, guys, that idea I just said, Grind Your Games will probably never do that. You know how Chris would never do async trade? Well, Jonathan will never do the pseudo SSF mode that I just said. So they see SSF as a self-imposed challenge. I think that's the exact words that they've used, like every single. Yep, see someone in the chat. Self-imposed challenge. Yep. If I can ever restrain myself and say, you know what, just invest more time into this particular league, have a good time, play SSF, do it. Like I always do it as far as I can in the end game. I usually make it to, T15 maps. Not this league, because I was very unlucky. I had to use trade in T5 Waystones. I'm talking about the PoE2 league. But most of the time I try to push myself going in SSF because it is a lot more fun. The moment you start engaging with trade, it does trivialize a lot of the progression in the game. And it is, you can self-impose the challenge. Oh, I see Seth Jones right here. I recognize that name. Okay. Campaign fatigue is the number 2 issue. Let's hear what he has to say, but everybody knows what I think about campaign fatigue.
Fatigue. This one showed up way more than I actually expected. A lot of you said that the campaign feels like a slog, especially when you have to repeat it on every character. Some of you said it's too long, some said it's too punishing, and most of you just said you're tired of doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And I understand that, especially as someone who actually likes testing multiple builds in a single league and you don't have unlimited time to play, repeating the campaign can absolutely feel like friction. I was actually very vocal myself about wanting a skip button back in point 1 and point 2, but over time, I've slightly changed my mind. At least partially. PoE 2's slower pace makes the campaign more immersive, and it gives you a much better understanding of your build as it develops. You go through that experimentation phase, you feel your power spikes, you adjust things as you go. There's something very valuable about that process. However, if you're copying a finished endgame build and just want to hit maps and start zooming immediately, then you probably won't agree with me on this. But I don't think PoE 2 is designed to be played purely as a rush to endgame simulator. A lot of you actually suggested solutions such as full campaign skip once you've completed at least once in each league. Others suggested unlocking a skip at a certain level like level 95 or tying into a boss. From a player perspective, those ideas make sense. But from GG's philosophy and the identity they're building around PoE 2, I don't think a full skip is very likely, to be honest. What I would personally prefer are smaller quality of life improvements. Things like faster routing once areas are cleared, optional RP skips between bosses and quest givers, or better shortcuts that respect your time without removing the campaign entirely. That way the campaign keeps its identity, but it doesn't feel like unnecessary repetition. And the number one problem that you guys were...
Okay, before I see it, I just talked about campaign skip to death on the Path to Exile podcast, so I don't want to go into it again. But my take is I don't believe there should be a campaign skip option. I would be for an alternative leveling option, such as a set of like 10 interludes if you don't want to listen to all the dialogue or click through all the dialogue, or if you wanted something to change up. I think that'd be really cool. And GGG said the interludes didn't require a lot of time to make. But I think it would be cool if they had like 20 interludes that, you know, imagine 2 years down the line, guys, 20 interludes in the game, and you could choose 10 of them instead of the 6-act campaign. I think that would be really cool. But I do think that the campaign is like it's like a trial. It's like a, you know, rite of passage from beginning to end. And I think it's important to the character's progression. And this is just my personal take. I get a lot of people disagree that, you know, they don't want to waste time in it. But I don't see it as wasting time. If you see the campaign as wasting time, then, I mean, is the end game wasting time as well? Like you're doing repetitious things in the end game. Ultimately, you just be skipping the campaign, which you say you don't want to do over and over again, to get to the end game, in which you're doing stuff over and over again in an end game, you know, which you'd be doing over and over again, right? Miso brought up an amazing take that I had never even considered before. He said people don't like the campaign because you're not amassing wealth. You're not growing your character's power overall above other people. This is just the route you take to start getting stronger than other people. I think that is such a fascinating take, and I bet that's right. I totally understand that, and that gets back to the whole div per hour discussion we had earlier on the live stream. And, you know, I understand it, but that's just not personally me. So I think that makes sense, though. Let me read a couple of you guys in the stream right now. Okay, actually, people like the choose your own adventure. I really think that'd be a cool idea. Imagine 20 distinctly designed interludes using all different assets from across the game. I think it would be kind of sick. So it's like 10 interludes that you get to choose instead of the 6-act repetitious campaign. So you could do them in any order, right? You could just pick and choose maybe some of your favorite. It would probably be a little imbalanced, but hey, you know, and it would unlock after you beat the campaign the first time. That's my vision. That's what I think would be cool. I'm not a fan of a big campaign skip button. I'm not a fan of level boosts in other games either. That's kind of what a campaign skip button seems like it would be. And I I personally wouldn't want an infinite delve in the game. I feel like a lot of people would feel compelled to do that because it's probably like the easier way to get through stuff and everything. But let me know in the comments if you disagree or agree. Okay, Lego. The biggest problem, guys.
Vocal about by a significant margin was
Endgame. Well, I have a good announcement to make, people. Guess what 0.5 is bringing in? Man, these people just didn't have fun at Endgame. Okay, here we go.
Endgame depth. Don't think anyone is going to be surprised by this one. The most common phrases from you guys were, there's nothing to do. Maps feel repetitive. Same.
Can we go back? Do you guys want to go back a second? Okay, remember? You guys remember? Remember? The campaign is repetitive. Second biggest complaint, campaign is repetitive. 1 second. Here we go. Let's remember the discussion we just had, everybody. One moment.
Was endgame depth. Don't think anyone is going to be surprised by this one. The most common phrases from you guys were, there's nothing to do. Maps feel repetitive. Same bosses. No meaningful chase. Hit a wall around tier 10, tier 15. And this specific thing ties directly back to my original video. When progression slows down and the variety doesn't expand with it, players feel finished.
Well, but the thing is, yeah. Oh, guys. Okay. All right. I don't know what he's going to say, but the game is 1 year old. Okay. It's not going to have crazy content depth. And guess what? An ARPG at its essence is kind of a repetitive sort of game. It is repetitive. All games are repetitive if you play them over and over again. This thing of like not wanting to repeat things and getting burnt out, that might just mean that you don't want to play this type of game right now. Because you're never going to have an infinitely dynamic game. If someone can name me an infinitely dynamic game in which the end game is never repetitive or the campaign is never repetitive, it just sounds like maybe these are all the MMO players. It's all the MMO players coming in and they're like, well, the end game is repetitive. Now, I'm not saying that the end game isn't bad. Could use a lot more depth. I feel like the progression through the end game is just not good. And it can use a lot more content, right? But I feel like the people that might be typing these comments just have played a lot of this game, and it's repetitive because, drum roll, they've repeated it a lot. Path of Exile isn't repetitive. Okay, you got me. I think a lot of people do agree with you there. That might be the only end game that people a lot of the time don't repeat that. Feel like it's repetitive. You can understand visually repetitive maps or bosses. 100%. Yeah, like it can use more content, and I feel like it's going to get more content. And good thing, guys. End game overhaul is incoming. Hopefully, they can add that dynamicism to the game with 0.5.
Even if technically they aren't. It's not that there's zero content. It's that the content doesn't evolve enough the deeper you go. And when players feel like they've seen everything meaningful after 3 weeks or a month, that's when retention naturally drops. Now, the good news about all of this is that 0.5 is supposed to be a massive endgame overhaul. Atlas changes, mapping changes, system updates, potentially addressing a lot of these concerns. But we also have to be realistic. Not everything will be perfect. No matter what GGG does, not everyone is gonna be happy. Even if the majority of players agree on one thing, everyone experiences the game differently. At the end of the day, we all paid the same $30 knowing that this was early access. We signed up.
Cheap game, stop bitching. That's a Dota 2 meme. That's a free game. Stop bitching. I felt like I had to say it. Yeah. Better Atlas tree would help a lot. Need nodes that feel impactful. True. Every Atlas tree needs to feel like the Abyss tree. Okay, Scorpius, keep going, bro.
For an evolving game. We can either choose to play it, enjoy it, and provide constructive feedback to help shape it, or step away if we're not having fun right
Exactly, we don't need to be retained. Thank you, Scorpius, I totally agree.
Now. But one thing most of us can agree on is that PoE2's early access already feels more complete than many ARPGs that are already launched as full releases.
Name them, Scorpius. I want to hear their names, okay? Do it.
And personally, those $30 have already been more than worth it. So thanks to all.
I mean, he is 100% right. The $30 are definitely worth it. Easily worth it. The campaign is worth the price of admission. 100%. Problem is, Scorpius, I didn't pay $30. I paid $480 for this game, and I don't even have 480 hours in it yet. So I currently spent more than $1 an hour. I'm only at 410 hours. No, I played an hour last night. 411 hours. So I'm gonna need to make it a little bit more worth it.
The thoughtful comments, the disagreements, the long breakdowns, and the counter arguments. That kind of engagement is what actually improves games. Constructive criticism is valuable. Debate is valuable. Even disagreement is also valuable. What isn't valuable, though, is blind negativity, toxicity, or attacking other players for how they choose to play the game.
Uh-oh, he's acknowledging the haters. Bro, I've done this so many times, and I feel like every single time it was a mistake. I don't think it's I don't think it's the right path. I understand why you feel the need to, but it's bad for your mental.
Don't have anything valuable to share, simply don't share it. At the end of the day, we're all here because we care about PoE 2. If we didn't, we wouldn't.
True. Everybody in the chat right now cares about PoE 2 except Pow Pow Pow. He's only here for me to play No Rest for the Wicked. It's true.
Be talking or arguing about it in comment sections. So whether you agreed with me or not, thank you very much for being part of the conversation. Let's see what 0.5 is actually going to bring. Thanks again. See you on the next one. Peace.
Oh, that was a good video. That was a good video. I disagreed with a lot of it again, but it was a good video. I like Scorpius's videos. I'll put it into the chat. There you go. Look at that. Thanks Scorpius for the lovely video. What, 654 comments? A lot less views, but 654 comments. That's probably a lot of people chatting. Let's see. What's the biggest? Any interesting comments here? I don't see anything too interesting, but yeah, thought it was a good video. My 5 biggest problems, what were they? What did optimization? Okay, that was number 5 for him. Visual clarity wasn't even brought up. Too swingy due to power being in gear and not in passive tree ascendancies wasn't brought up. Endgame progression, endgame as a whole, that was the number 1. But it was more so focused on the content, not on the Infinite Atlas or the progression. So that's interesting. And then 5, lack of explanation in game. It didn't get a mention. But yeah, good video. Keep them up, Scorpius. I like commentary videos because I don't really watch build guides that much, so keep them coming. I hope everybody here liked it too. Leave a comment on the stream or on the VOD or the video. Do you agree with Scorpius? Agree with me? Agree with the other people? Are we both off base? Let me know. Let's do the react over. That felt dumb. That felt dumb what I just did there.